Your hands are shaking, not from the cold, though the cold alone could crack skin, but from something older, something animal. In a few hours, you will do something that gets you branded a monster in monastery records written by men who will never learn your name. So here's the question worth sitting with before we go any further. If you were born into this world, hungry, cold, and out of options, would you have climbed into that ship too? It's the year 793. You live on a jagged strip of coastline where the soil is thin, the winters are long, and the sea is the only road that ever leads anywhere. You were not born a warrior. You were born a farmer's son, and most days, that's exactly what you still are. But today is different. Today, you become a raider. Forget everything you think you know. There is no horned helmet on your head. That image was invented centuries later, dreamed up for an opera costume, not history. There is no wild battle axe swinging over your shoulder like some berserk lunatic. What you actually carry is far more practical and far more terrifying in its own quiet way. A short iron blade called a seeks, a spear worn smooth from your father's hands before yours, and a round wooden shield with an iron boss bolted to its center. Chainmail is for chieftains. You're not one. Not yet. Before dawn fully breaks, you step out of your longhouse, a low, smoky building of timber and packed earth, shared with your family, your goats, and the animals that keep you alive through winter. Your wife hands you dried fish and hard bread wrapped in cloth. She doesn't say goodbye. In your world, goodbyes are considered an invitation to bad luck, a way of telling death exactly where to find you. So instead, she just looks at you, long enough to remember your face, just in case this is the last time she gets the chance. Down at the shore, your ship waits. She is not just wood and rope. She is the single most important piece of technology in your entire world. Shallow enough to slide silently up rivers no army expects to be attacked from. Fast enough to strike and vanish before help arrives. Light enough that if the sea turns against you, your crew can drag her overland like a wooden beast escaping a trap. Around you, 30 men gather in the half-light. You know every single one of them. Cousins, neighbors, men you've fished beside, argued with, buried fathers alongside. This isn't an army sent by some distant king. This is your community, bound together by blood, debt, and a shared, desperate hunger for something better than what this unforgiving land can offer. The rowing begins, and it does not stop for days. Your palms split open within hours, then slowly toughen into something closer to leather. The sea doesn't care that you're scared. It doesn't care that you miss your children, or that some nights you lie awake wondering if you'll ever see them again. It only respects skill, rhythm, and endurance, and it punishes hesitation instantly, without mercy or explanation. There is no compass strapped to your belt, no map folded in your pocket. You navigate by reading the sun during the day and the stars at night, watching the flight patterns of seabirds, studying the changing color of the water beneath your hull. This knowledge wasn't taught in some classroom. It was passed down, voyage after voyage, from men who survived long enough to teach it, and quietly withheld by the ones who didn't. Sleep becomes a luxury measured in stolen minutes. Someone is always awake, always scanning the horizon, for sudden storms rolling in without warning, for rival ships hunting the very same waters you are, for that first dark smudge of land breaking through the fog. Out here, every unfamiliar sound could mean absolutely nothing, or it could mean everything. Before we go further, if this kind of story pulls you in, history told the way it actually felt, not the way textbooks flatten it, hit subscribe now, because this is only the beginning of what your ancestors survived. And then finally land, not a fortress bristling with soldiers, not an army waiting to meet you on some open battlefield, just a monastery, quiet and undefended, candlelight flickering faintly behind thin windows in the last hour before sunrise. This isn't chaos. This isn't random cruelty for its own sake. This is calculated, and it is cold. Monasteries hold gold. They hold silver. They hold sacred relics worth more than most men will earn in a lifetime. And critically, they hold almost no one capable of defending any of it. Christian monks, devoted entirely to prayer and peace, make for tragically easy targets, and everyone on your ship knows it. Which is exactly why speed becomes your only real weapon. You move faster than warning can travel by horse, faster than any local lord can rally men to organize a defense. Within minutes, it's over. You take what you can carry: coin, silver chalices, jeweled crosses, and sometimes captives who will later be ransomed back to grieving families or sold in slave markets as far away as Dublin or Constantinople. History will remember you as a monster, a symbol of pure terror, immortalized in monastery chronicles written by the few men who survived to tell the tale, their trembling hands describing you as demons sent from the sea itself. But back home, to the family anxiously watching the horizon, you are simply a man doing whatever it takes to survive in a world that offers your people almost nothing else. Weeks later, through the mist, the familiar coastline of home finally comes into view. Your ship sits lower in the water now, weighed down with plunder, with pride, and with stories that will follow you for the rest of your life. But not everyone made the journey back. Some brothers were lost to sudden storms, others to skirmishes that turned violent, or wounds that quietly festered over the long voyage home. That, too, is simply the cost of this life, a cost your entire village silently understands and has long since made peace with. Tonight, though, there is mead, there is laughter, and there is boasting around a roaring fire. A skald, your village's poet and storyteller, begins weaving today's chaos and bloodshed into tomorrow's legend, exaggerating your courage with every single retelling, until the story barely resembles what actually happened out on that beach. But here's what almost everyone gets completely wrong about your life. You're not simply a raider. You're a farmer, a trader, a craftsman, a fisherman, an explorer. All of it, somehow, wrapped into one single, complicated identity. Raiding is seasonal, opportunistic, a calculated risk you take for wealth and status, never a permanent career, and never your entire personality. In fact, many people from your world never raided a single time in their lives. Some sailed unimaginable distances purely as traders instead, reaching as far as Baghdad in the east and the unmapped shores of North America in the west, exchanging furs, walrus ivory, and amber for Arab silver and Byzantine silk. Your people quietly build trading networks stretching across 3 continents, centuries before most of the world believed that kind of global commerce was even remotely possible. You are violent when violence pays. You are peaceful, even diplomatic, when peace pays more. Survival, not senseless bloodlust, is the real force driving nearly every decision you make. Tomorrow, the raiding gear gets packed carefully away. You'll mend torn fishing nets, plant fresh barley, repair the hull of your longship, and slip quietly back into the ordinary rhythm of daily life. Because the raider and the farmer were never two separate men living inside you. They were always, simply, the same person, doing whatever this brutal, unforgiving world demanded of him next. This was your life, roughly 1,200 years ago, standing on the cold, unforgiving edge of the known world. So ask yourself again, now that you actually know the truth behind the myth, would you have survived it? And if you want to find out what it felt like to live through the next chapter of history, make sure you're subscribed, because your next life is waiting.